you thinking of geese?
Geese might be aliens. I don't know.
Well, we got a guy on the show tonight who says that he's got scientific proof that aliens exist. This guy, Michael Horn, he's the American ambassador, the media representative. This guy, Billy Meier, the Swiss farmer with only one arm.
Man, I want to hang with this Billy Meier.
This Billy Meier, this dude, this like big long beard guy who lives over in Switzerland. He's been talking to aliens like since he was a little boy.
Yeah.
And he's taken thousands of photos. We're going to show you the pictures. We're going to show you the video he shot. And he's got all these predictions that he made based on what these Pleiadian aliens told him.
Right.
And the guy who Billy Meier talks to, the only American he talks to, Michael Horn, is going to be right here on the couch a little bit later. And he's going to tell us the whole story and give us that video evidence.
I can't wait.
Maybe. It's going to be something. It's beyond dispute, he says, that aliens exist.
He looks like a wild man.
He is. He is.
Infected.
And welcome back to the Infected UFO Abductathon. Billy Meier is a 70-year-old Swiss one-armed farmer who has been in contact with aliens for much of his life. Aliens that have allowed him to take thousands of photos of their spaceships and also have given him secrets which have allowed him to tell the future. Well, we have here Michael Horn, who is the American ambassador for Billy Meier. How you doing, Michael? Great to have you here on the Sargecast, man.
Thank you, Martin. Great.
So did I get it right with who Billy Meier is? I mean, Billy Meier, he's this old guy. He's living in Switzerland, and he has been in contact with these UFOs from the Pleiades for much of his life.
He claims that since he was 5 years old, he's been meeting with people from a constellation in the direction of the Pleiades, which are themselves uninhabited star systems.
Now, you say he claims, but you are a firm 100% believer in what Billy Meier says.
Here's the way I answer that. I have been able, through researching the information, to draw only one conclusion, and that is that the case is authentic. There's so much in the case that I can't say that everything is true because so much of it is still in German, my German reading is not that good yet. Everything I've been able to check out, the physical evidence, prophetic evidence, has been flawlessly and impeccably accurate.
Have you ever met Billy Meier?
Oh, sure. I go over every year.
What's your take? What's your read of him? Does he seem like he's truthful? Obviously, if you are sort of making part of your living as his ambassador, you think that he's on the level.
Well, just to be really clear about it, I do my representational work for the case voluntarily. Okay. I make money if somebody buys one of my DVDs or a book or something, but I do everything else for free. However, to answer your question, I've tried to trick Meier with a question to see if maybe he was, flubbing something. I've been unable to do that. My take on Meier is he's a genuine human being, and I think like everybody, he's flawed. He's not a perfect being, and that's a relief.
How did you become his ambassador?
I'm sorry.
Well, which is the term that I often see bandied about. You are the ambassador.
Well, I'm the authorized American media representative.
Well, ambassador.
He looks like a heavy hitter, this Billy.
Billy's a great guy.
What's he like to hang out with? Like, what's he like to do?
Well,
what
we tell jokes.
Night with him?
We sit and sometimes
we'll
tell jokes.
Is he a big drinker?
No, he's been known in the past to drink. He's a very normal person. He gets angry, doesn't get angry. He works enormously hard. He's constantly transcribing information from these people and publishing it. And he is basically just, if you didn't know that this was a man who's supposedly has regular visits with extraterrestrials, you wouldn't know it was a man who was just a very unassuming guy otherwise.
He's taken thousands of photos of these flying saucers.
About 1,200 altogether, 8 films, video.
One of the problems that a lot of people have when they look at these things is, well, they look kind of like hubcaps in many cases that people have just sort of thrown in the air. And that is to say that they have that aesthetic of the 1950s sci-fi film.
I say Jules Verne meets Leonardo da Vinci.
Exactly. And people will say, well, obviously Billy Meier just got this into his imagination by watching these kind of films. And you say?
I say, so far to date, nobody has been able to duplicate one of his photos. And I've challenged the top international professional skeptics, model makers, photographers, and I mean, I've been running this challenge with them directly for now 6 years. None of them, they come up with little photos of models, none of which have any detail on them, and they just won't pass muster. Meier's photos were tested under very strict parameters. We even have a film, there's a film made 20-some years ago showing the testing, some photos through computer analysis, and these are real objects. They're not little models. They have thermographic signatures, they're the pixels on the end, and the where things fade, and the contours, and stuff that exceeds my technical understanding was done to analyze, but clearly...
And this is some guy, he's a Swiss farmer. He's not some Photoshop expert. Photoshop didn't even exist when he was doing this sort of thing.
Didn't even have a home
how
computer.
would it be possible for him to have done that way back then out in the fields?
He was in 1964, he was in India, and he took photographs in India. And then in 1998, a woman came forward who had been at this ashram where Meier was visiting.
Okay, so this is getting interesting.
Oh,
He's not
we have
just
witnesses.
some Swiss sheep farmer or something.
No.
This guy's sort of an out
knew
there.
it about this
eating
guy,
some,
man. He looked like
eating the magic mushrooms, the soma, and stuff like that, perhaps.
Let me ask you, does he like to ride like dune buggies or anything like that?
Moped. He's a one-armed moped driver, and that's what made the whole thing even more fantastic. He's going out in the middle of the night, and he shot a hole through a tree, allegedly with a laser weapon. We have photographs of it.
A real
Laser
Hellraiser.
weapon.
They loaned him a laser weapon. on two
Who
occasions.
loaned him?
Yeah, they came down, loaned him an antique for them, 600-year-old silly-looking laser weapon. He put a couple holes in trees. The investigators came by, and they thought, well, he must have drilled the hole. And then they said, wait a minute, the hole is oval, and it's smooth as glass. It goes all the way through. Let's take a string. They ran the string all the way into the forest. Everything was singed all the way until where it hits a hill. And then one of the investigators was there just after one of these folks had apparently let him use the weapon, and they took it back up. And Meier's sitting there with a smoldering piece of wood with the sap bubbling. And the investigator's looking at the thing going, how the heck did you do that? He says, well, it points up 30 feet up in the tree. There's a branch that he severed off.
Did he show him that gun, that laser beam?
Only photos and films of it. But
You got to be so jealous. Don't you want to meet these aliens? I mean, I want to meet these aliens.
Well, let's put it this way. I've had the opportunity to sit and spend time with Billy. They come and talk to him. So he's probably on their level. They ain't going to meet with me, but if I get a chance to talk to Billy, maybe I get a little contact.
Let's take a look at one of the videos. It's not just still photography. He's also shot some videos.
It was a film, actually, what they look at.
This is one where we're taking a look at it right now. It's this flying saucer, and it's going around and around and around. And a lot of people say that this is just somebody who is swinging a hubcap or a frisbee type device around. And why isn't it that?
Sure. Well,
maybe Billy was in there driving it himself, about half cocked up on some beer or something like that.
And photographing and filming it at the same time. Well, the thing is, when on the page on the website, you can actually read a description of part of the analysis of that, where they were able to triangulate and figure that it would have been impossible for the movement of the ship, the object, let's just give it the benefit of the doubt, and from where it would have been suspended. Plus, when you observe that spinning, you'll notice that the craft comes up and hangs.
Yeah.
And then it moves, and then it stops and reverses and goes around, and the treetop moves. And this drives the skeptics absolutely nuts. They go completely crazy. It's got to be some... But then another investigator said, well, he would have needed a 25-foot pole. Then we've got a film with 3 of the objects in broad daylight in a distance right behind a tree branch. Then you've got another one that goes zip and disappears behind a hill and flies back up. So the skeptics are going, it's got to be a model tree and a model UFO. They had MGM Special Effects Studios made a model. We have it on film. We're going to have it in our movie probably. And you can see it's a beautiful model. You can just tell the difference. They walk it around. You say, wait a minute, that's not that. Because in another film we've got, which we'll have in our movie, the UFO comes in and 2 lights in broad daylight alternate off it. And here's the kicker. I took the films and the photos to the guys that won the Academy Award for Special Effects for Independence Day. I showed it to them. I said, now tell me. The skeptics told me that this is a model that... I couldn't finish it. They both broke out laughing. He said, that's not a model. Those aren't models. We know models. Those aren't models. I said, well, could you duplicate this? And the guy says, if we can duplicate it, we've got to go to CGI. When did he make the film? I said, 1976. They said, oh.
And that movie sucked, though. You got to admit it.
You know what?
Kind of shit.
Yeah, but these guys do multi-million-dollar special effects.
Let's watch it one more time. Let's add the audio. This is not taken at the same time, but
different audio.
Let's listen to this just for a second here. And again, the skeptics say this is right out of a 1950s sci-fi film, man. This is like when the doors open and close and the Starship Enterprise and everything like that. That's what it sounds like on the bridge of the Enterprise.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
7 separate sound engineers, 2 from studios, 1 studio in L.A., 1 studio in San Diego, the Naval Undersea Labs back on the East Coast.
All people there.
They took the sounds, analyzed them, put on an oscilloscope, put on spectrum analyzers, and they found the following. that there were so many frequencies interacting at the same time, making unique patterns that they could not, A, identify the sound source, and the Naval Undersea Labs have a record of virtually every piece of equipment in the world that makes a sound. Oh. They could identify 2 other planes that were recorded at the same time, just happened to fly around. They couldn't identify that, and the kicker is, none of the sound studios could duplicate it, and that remains true to this day. That's why we've posted the sounds for free on the site. If anybody, you put that up on a scope and you start figuring out, now you try to duplicate and get all that information to happen, you've got to go to synthesizers.
You know who I bet could do it? You know that guy from the Police Academy movies who can make all those crazy noises?
Yeah, but he's the only one.
I bet he could do it. That's probably him.
That's not fair.
All right. Now, okay, people can dispute.
Then there's
all
metal
that stuff,
samples
but
too. Yeah.
There's the predictions.
Yeah.
The prognostications, the things that Meier was told by these aliens, which have come to pass. Lots of them.
Now, how did you... Go ahead.
The one that we want to focus on here is what's going on right now. You say that essentially the Bush administration is following a script.
Unwittingly, perhaps.
Unwittingly, but the government might know. Some people say that the government actually knows about the Meier stuff.
It is now known about in the higher levels of virtually every intelligence and governmental agency in the world that has any clout. They know, and they won't talk about it. But
so, and that's another thing, because if they know, then why are they following the script to destruction? Now, let me this that you say in 1958. This is an exact translation of what Billy Meier wrote in German after hearing it from these aliens.
Well,
right?
This is one of 160 specific things in this text.
This is just one, and I'm going to read it for you. In Iraq, a war will be led through the United States of America, through their country's president. However, this will be without success, for which reason one of his sons, who will likewise be the USA's head of power, will, in the third millennium, unleash a second war in Iraq, which will ultimately lead to an unbelievable disaster and to torturing as well as to mass murder through U.S. armed forces and the rebellious.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on.
It's just...
That's
Look,
pretty much hit the nail on the head right there.
And you say
1958.
1958. How the fuck can you prove, though, that was actually in 1958? Are there any documents that go back that far? How do I know that you or somebody else didn't just post that up on the website
That's a fair and honest question, and let me answer it in a funny way for you. Remember, I just threw in this line that there's 160 specific predictions in here. There are other documents on my website with predictions. For instance, I think you may have gotten a copy of a DVD that I did in 1984. On that DVD, I referred to predictions from Meier from 1981 and 87 that foretold a number of things, including riots in Paris that would lead to looting, arson, murder, and the inhabitants of the Islamic faith would be the ones responsible for it, the rebellious of that faith. In 2005, October, November of 2005, those riots took place in Paris with the looting, the burning, the murder, and it was and continues, though we don't get a lot of coverage in news, it was the rebellious elements of some Islamic fundamentalists in France, in Paris, that did that. Now, Paris wasn't burned to the ground, and France had not yet, and I use the word yet, hopefully never, but hasn't yet fallen, as is further predicted by Meier. But I already had that on my DVD in 2004 from the 1981 and 87 information. It didn't happen until a year and a half after it's on my DVD. Now, likewise, there are many documents in books or that have been disseminated around the world in now 5 or 6 languages where every sentence, no matter what language, they are numbered sentences when these alleged extraterrestrials speak and give them information. And so specific predictions that were given to him starting back in the 1950s and then the 70s and all of this have been typed out. Some are in books, some are on DVD, some are in these transcripts that are all over the world. But in every contact number, such and such, sentence 7, it says the same thing in every language.
Do you think you could put in a call to him and see whether he thinks he could tell me if Chauncey's girl's going to win at the dog races this Saturday?
Well, I'll tell you something. In order to do that, and I could call him next week.
That would be
Can we call him right now, actually?
I think they're asleep.
That'd be a big
It's early in the morning.
That's convenient.
Yeah, I know. About that dog race thing, let's talk about it afterwards. Maybe that's how we can do it.
And I alluded to it earlier. Okay, so he's made all these predictions. Well, what he says is going to happen next is really scary. That's really fucked up. Are these predictions, though, are they going to come to pass? Is this deterministic? Do they have to happen? First of all, tell us what he says is going to happen next, and then answer the second part of my question. Can we change that?
We do not have to fulfill the destruction foretold. There's a document that your viewers can look at, linked, which says prophecies on my website there. The Enoch prophecies, it talks about what's coming to this country, the USA, and other countries, if we don't change. And the number one thing, and this falls on the head a lot of your generation. Mine, if you all have screwed up a lot of stuff, like the one before perhaps, and so it's always handed over. But now we're in a place where your viewers, your listeners, your people who are so savvy and can move around the internet and all this technology can organize and spread the word all over the place to start.
Viewers are high and drunk.
Well, okay, I was giving him a benefit of the doubt. However, moving right along, this is where the change takes place. It comes from the bottom up. It no longer will come from the top down. That's co-opted. It's sold out. It's hopeless. What we are told in those prophecies and predictions, if the U.S. does not withdraw from Iraq and all of the places where we are based, we will get the result of a third world war here that will be so completely devastating that we cannot imagine it. And we don't have to have it. My personal mission is to help prove these prophecies wrong by getting enough people to wake up and at least look at the information and see what happens in your head. A simple thing like this thing on my website up here that shows this peace symbol is upside down for 30 years. Oh, what does that matter? It matters because symbols are powerful and important. If you frown, you give one message. If you smile, you give another. The peace symbol that we're carrying is a sword of death. Literally, it's an old, ancient symbol for death. You turn it right side up and you get this. It's the tree of life.
That's it.
That's it. And you might think, oh, we've got a bunch of people out there just kicking back. But you may be right. I hope they're kicking instead of just kicking back.
They're kicking. We got a very engaged audience, and they're going to be even more engaged now that we've heard you explain all this to us. Michael, before you go real quick.
What's he say about the McRib? Is that going to come back?
That's priority information right now.
Before you go, I also want, you're not only the American ambassador, media representative Bill Meier, you're also a fitness expert. You do the sit and get fit line of videos.
Right.
Can you teach us real quick one way that we can sit?
Lord
we got
knows
a lot
I
of
need a little
people
help
who use
with
the
that.
computers.
Okay.
They got big ass. How can we sit and get fit?
All
real
right.
quick?
Look, you can only get partially fit sitting. We know that, but there's some key things you can do. The simplest thing, if you want to do one thing, do spinal circles. And what that means is you sit,
Okay, here we
you
go.
relax, you put your hands down, and you start to gently, slowly make a small circle with the torso.
Does Billy Meier do this? He's
I'll
got
have
a
to
big
check.
fat stomach, I noticed.
He does. He's got a tummy. So
Right,
you,
yeah.
and
That
then you
feels
get
good.
it so that eventually you're swooping down very low, yeah?
Yeah, I don't swoop too good.
And then you reverse it.
You guys at home, I hope you're all doing this too.
After all this doom and gloom, we've got to kind of clear the sinuses.
Yeah, here we go.
What's Billy do with those aliens? He doesn't like any orgy type things or anything like
I
that?
haven't heard of that.
Beyonce's pretty hot. I'd fuck her.
But what's he do, though?
Well, he speaks with them. He travels around. They take him to places.
Are they nice, or what are they like? Are they just like...
Well, he says that they're real human beings and they know the difference between, let's say, love and not love. What we do down here.
I do too, and I can feel the love in the
Flowing
room
through that
tonight.
sign, right?
Thank you so much, Michael Horn.
My
Thank
pleasure.
You
Thank you,
so
Martin.
much for being here on the show and explaining
Hey,
all this
thank you,
to
Jim.
us. That was fantastic. All right, everyone, you've got to check out his website. It is theyfly.com.
And the movie's coming out.
And the movie is coming out
Right.
too. All the answers.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much for being here. Our